Hello apostates and future apostates, it's Maggie. I just wanted to do a quick video because I got my Don't Be Culty sweatshirt from the Leah Remini show. And I was super excited. It's very comfortable. I would definitely order it if you haven't. I know Trisha's jealous, so I just wanted to show it off. And wearing this made me think of my cousin Kurt. He was my favorite person in the entire world. He's actually my second cousin. He's my mom's cousin. So he's a little bit older than me. He was 20 years older than me. So when I was in my teenage years, he had little kids, and he was just always there for me. He was an elder, and my dad was not spiritual at all. So he always kind of took me under his wing. I was going through some hard teenage years, just wanting to be free from my parents' control, and he always understood me. He understood that my dad wasn't really great, and we didn't have a lot of money growing up, so he would come visit and he would go and take me shoe shopping. Like, we were just two peas in a pod. And you know, he was so quirky. He's the one that got me into Weird Al. He was very eclectic. He rode a unicycle. When he loved the color orange, he would wear orange every day. When Converse announced that they were going to discontinue their neon orange high tops, he bought like 12 pairs. So he had them forever. That's all he wore. And like, he was just such a character. He was just amazing. He played the ukulele and the banjo just to be silly. He made up his own music. He was just wild and out there. He had one of his front teeth were cut like Lloyd in Dumb and Dumber, and he never got it fixed because he loved it. And he was just so crazy. He was amazing. But as I got older, you know, as you do, you learn like everybody's secrets, which is horrible because then you're completely disillusioned to the people that you love. And, you know, I started hearing stories about how he, when he was younger, had been diagnosed with schizophrenia. And I know he wasn't the best dad to his children, and he wasn't the best husband to his wife because of his disease. And as an elder, he listened to the other elders, and he didn't get the mental help that he needed. So he had a really, really hard time in life. And around the same time that I was leaving the truth, he left the truth. And because he got stripped of his title as an elder because he was getting mental help for his disease. And I don't know exactly the reasoning behind that. But he, you know, once he wasn't an elder anymore, he was so upset. He was devastated. And this was just because he was getting mental help for disease. And so he ended up, his wife left him. It was horrendous. He, you know, sunk deeper and deeper into depression. But when I would speak to my family, I would always ask for him. I wanted his information. He wasn't really on Facebook that much, so I couldn't get a hold of him. And apparently at the same time he was asking for my information, nobody would connect us. Nobody would give us each other's information because they didn't want us to connect. So, you know, he was alone and I was alone. I had my children. He didn't. I'm not really sure of the circumstances, but he ended up committing suicide. And a week before he committed suicide, he begged. He called every family member, begging for my phone number, begging for anybody to speak to him, and everybody sent him to voicemail. Not one person would pick up the phone when he called. And it's devastating. He was the most amazing person in my entire life, and I will never, ever forget him. I think about him every single day. My kids know him just through my stories. And that's terrible. They were robbed of another person in their life. And the way that I found out that he had passed away was pretty horrendous. My dad was actually having open heart surgery in Inglewood, and I went and stayed with my mother. Even though I was the disfellowship child, nobody could make it and stay with my mom. So they asked me to stay with her. So, you know, I stayed with her at the hospital, and we were talking as my dad was in surgery. One of my sisters was there, but she couldn't stay over, so I had to stay. And, we're all sitting around the table, and my dad's in surgery, and I'm like, Mom, have you heard from Cousin Kurt in a while? And everybody's faces just dropped. And I was like, what? I was like, I was panicking. And then they told me. And it was devastating. And this person committed suicide because he wasn't allowed to get the mental help that he needed. And once he decided to get that mental help, he was stripped of all his responsibilities in the congregation and shunned by the entire family. And worse is that they denied both of us the ability to reach out to each other. I could have been there for him. He could have been there for me. I'm not saying that I would have saved his life, but there was a chance I could have been the one, the only, lifesaver out there that could have helped him. And it's devastating. So, we're all kind of just talking about what we're going to do for the memorial. And I know people have just such amazing ideas, but I think part of what I do at the memorial will be dedicated to Kurt. And when I do, I'm going to try to do a couple of car crashes this weekend. Hopefully I find some in the city. I'll be talking to them about him and see, how they feel about how he passed away. So that's my tribute to him. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. I know that a lot of you have lost people to suicide, and it's not acceptable anymore. So just remember, don't be culty. All right, I love you all.